Hi, I'm Priya. I'm 19 years old. Have you ever looked for friends? I mean, not to meet them at school or hobby clubs, but to search for them purposefully? And what about love? Watch this video to the end and find out how I found my love after sex in VR. I've always been a reserved and shy girl. I didn't play with other children in their games and had to play with myself. At first, my parents supported me because nothing bad happened to me, and they gave me computer games and consoles, a lot of consoles. Even a day wasn't enough to play them all. Then, my parents realized that they'd made a huge mistake, but it was too late. So I passed my study in school, college. I studied a little bit and spent more time playing games, and it didn't bother me a bit. And then, I suddenly felt very lonely. I stood in front of the mirror and asked myself, well, what have you achieved, Priya Ali? You're 18 and you have no friends, no boyfriend, no goals in life. I don't want to be you, sis. But I was, and I solved the problem the only way I knew how. I was totally into video games. By my last birthday, I had saved enough money to buy VR glasses. I can't tell you how happy I was. I wore them literally for days. I played every game I could get my hands on. It was awesome to feel like a direct participant in events. I could have been a warrior, a sheep farmer, or even a goddess. And then I came across a sale of porn games. And I thought about it. I had a very conservative family, and I didn't want to imagine how they would react if they found out. But it was not the guy I was hiding from them. It was just the game. I could handle it. And I bought one of these games. I chose a game where there would be other users beside me. I, of course, had played with other players before, but it was RPG. And here was a completely different matter. My hands were shaking with anticipation. Though in virtual reality, but still sex waiting for me. Whoa! I created a character that was just like me, just a little better. But as in life, I was immediately bullied there. They wrote all sorts of nasty things and tried to attack my character. But unlike real life, I was lucky. Just as I wanted to disconnect and renounce, an awesome character under the nickname Wiser Cross 906 stood up for me. Oh, he was so beautiful. He made a couple of cracks in general chat room. And then we ran away with him throughout open locations. I didn't even know it was possible. And what happened to him and me was why we played this game. Sex. I felt like Wiser Kraus was gentle with me. This was what I wanted. Tender, hot, varied sex. With a stunningly beautiful and kind guy. Of course, you can't feel real heat through VR or penetration, but this did not prevent me from getting a real, sincere pleasure. After that, we began to communicate, and he turned out to be a great guy. I was afraid he would start laughing at me when he found out that I was a virgin, but he was like, me too. And I felt a lot better. I was so happy. It was like I was doing this. Wise Kraus wrote to me that I was a great player, that it had been a long time since he saw such girls who would get such pleasure from the game. We agreed to meet again. I couldn't wait for this moment. Seriously, I was up almost all night. I imagined it was my sex, and this Wise Kraus was a real man. And, man, I think I fell in love. But it was so cool. We met almost every day and had incredible sex. How could I have thought of this before? This Wise Kraus was amazing for a virgin to grow up in different sexual practices. Although the game was not played in the first person, I felt as if I was in the game and making passionate love with my boyfriend? Stop. We met with Wise Kraus every day, gave each other gift bonuses, did this, and did not go to anyone else. Yes, he was my boyfriend. Would you transfer the online relationships into real life? Or would such relationships have died immediately? I was determined to make Wise Krause my boyfriend, not in the virtual world, but offline. He was dodging a direct conversation, and I thought, okay, well, guys are always scared like this. I needed to act smarter. I began to casually talk about myself, ask questions about where he liked to walk, what was near his house, and I managed to trick him. He said that he lived in another city and liked to walk around the square with a fountain at the municipality. I Googled, yeah, I saw this place. I thought the navigator could take me there. Go ahead. On vacation, I went to this city, deceiving my parents. I said that I was going to a friend's house. Well, I wasn't exactly lying. Anyway, I arrived, found this square, this fountain, sat down on the edge and wrote to him. So-and-so. I arrived by the first train. Me, dear beloved. He was confused and wrote, yes, of course. I'm sorry, they won't let me out now. Just wait an hour or two. Literally until the evening. And when I wanted to yell at him, a girl about 14 years old came up to me and said, "Hi, I'm Wise Krause." I was so shocked. She just destroyed me. My jaw dropped, and while I was collecting my thoughts, the girl hurriedly told me everything. It turned out that she got her VR glasses from her brother, who recently moved out. She got an account and started playing for a guy, but she couldn't bring me home because her mom would wipe her out. But she offered to spend the night in her garage. Of course, I did not expect that the character would look like its real owner, but that it was a little girl? Was I never going to find a boyfriend? Sandra was very good and nice. I may not have found a boyfriend, but I have a great girlfriend. You don't trust when everything in your life is going well, do you? Do you think there's some kind of setup behind this? So I was expecting something terrible to happen. When we returned to the garage in the evening, her mother was waiting for us. She attacked me like a tigress. She clutched my hair and screamed that I had molested her daughter and that she would put me on trial. Sandra tried to separate us, and then this woman started hitting her. Sandra ran out, and I ran after her. When I caught up with Sandra, she had bruises all over her face, and blood was coming out of her mouth. My parents are strict, but I have never encountered this. I couldn't let Sandra go home after this, so I asked her if she had anyone to go to. Then Sandra tearfully mentioned her older brother, and I picked up her phone and found him in the contact list. He arrived immediately and took poor Sandra. I went with them. Mac told me it wasn't the first time this happened. He ran away from his family when his mother beat him for some reason. He thanked me for not leaving Sandra alone. How could I? We'd been through so much together, though in a game. When we got to his house, we put Sandra to bed, and I told him how we met. It was so embarrassing. But Mac was not surprised. He laughed and said that Sandra played with his old account. He gave her all the passwords along with the glasses. It was a strange recognition, but on the other hand, I was glad. Okay, he knew everything and I had nothing to be ashamed of. I went home, but I continued texting with Sandra. Their mother was subpoenaed. She was not stripped of her parental rights, but they allowed Mac to take Sandra home with him. For a few weeks, I didn't even want to think about virtual reality, but the adrenaline kicked in and I was bored again. First, I went back to the virtual farm and then to the brothel. It was boring without Sandra. Other players just didn't have that imagination. Imagine my surprise when I suddenly saw her character in one of the locations. I wrote to her immediately, asking 1,000 questions. The answer was not what I expected. It turned out that Sandra took the glasses and the console with her to her brother. So Mac decided to shake things up. Especially since Sandra told him that he would definitely find me in a virtual brothel. The question, what do we do now, was not even there. And it was clear. And this time, it went much further. Mac can't visit me too often, but we can at least be together in an online game. And who would know how much I love what he does with his tongue? What do you think about virtual love? Subscribe to our channel and send us your stories. And don't forget to play good games.